Now called to order. We'll begin with a roll call. Mrs. Becker.
Here.
Mr. Carangelo.
Here.
Mrs. Chu.
Here.
Mr. Sismar.
Here.
Mrs. Guas.
Here.
Mr. Hong.
Here.
Mrs. Lax.
Here.
Mrs. Reese.
Here.
Mr. Winston.
Here.
We have a quorum. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the East Brunswick Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Board of Education offices located.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's unmuted. I'm sorry. We're getting feedback.
Could you mute this?
Matt can't hear from that one.
I feel like I'm a ventriloquist. Oh, is that?
Okay, I apologize.
Matt,
Technical
I
problem.
guess wanted to be here.
I'm sorry.
Shall I start from the beginning? No. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the East Brunswick Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Board of Education offices located at 760 Route 18, East Brunswick, New Jersey. Written notice was also provided to the Sentinel, the Newark Star Ledger, the Home News and Tribune, and the municipal clerk of East Brunswick. All Board of Education meetings, with the exception of executive session discussions, are videotaped for later broadcast. It is the policy of the Board of Education that videotape meetings are not edited for any purpose. Individuals who speak at the board's public meetings should be aware of these videotaping rules. Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. We are here for the reorganization meeting of the Board of Education. And so at this time, we will begin with the first item on the agenda, which is the appointment of temporary chairperson. May I have such a motion?
So moved.
Second by Mr. Winston, and second by Mr. Hahn. Is there any discussion?
Just have one question, since there's no point for discussion afterwards. Just for a point of clarity, when the nomination process following this appointment does come through, will there be an opportunity to ask questions of the candidates?
That is not a Q&A option. according to the bylaw.
Thank you. Okay, appreciate it.
Seeing no objections, no questions on this particular item, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the administering of the oath of office. So we will begin with the three individuals who were reelected to the Board of Education, starting with Mrs. Becker, who joined me center stage, so to speak. Hello. Your right hand is all ready. You've been through this before, so please repeat after me.
Just here.
I, Vicki Becker,
I, Vicki Becker,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly
that
swear
I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established
and to the government established
in the United States
in the United States
and this state
and this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
And I do solemnly swear
And I do solemnly swear
that I possess the
that I
qualifications
possess the qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office of member
for the office of member
of a Board of Education,
of a Board of Education,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all duties of that office
all duties of that office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Mrs. Reese. Looks like it's the first step. And you as well, your hand is all ready. I, Barbara Reese,
I, Barbara Reese,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear
and that I will bear
true faith and allegiance
true faith and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and this state
and this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
And I do solemnly affirm
And I do solemnly affirm
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office of member
for the office of member
of a Board of Education,
of a Board of Education,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all duties of that office
all duties of that office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me.
Mr. Winston.
Thanks, I'm gonna try. You were really good.
I'm pretty swear, but,
I'll swear.
I, Jeffrey Winston,
I, Jeffrey Winston,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United
of
States
the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey.
and that I will bear true faith
I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and this state
and the state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
And I do solemnly swear
And I do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office of member
for the office of member
of a Board of Education,
of the Board of Education,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all duties of that office
all duties of that office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Congratulations. So for the board members who were just sworn in, you have the oath, which I will need you to please sign off and return to me before the end of the evening. And also in the folder that I left at your seats is your certificate of election to your position. Okay, next on the agenda, we will get into the nominations for officers. And so the first thing I want to note for the members of the board is that there is a paper ballot provided for, one for the position of board president and one for the position of vice president. So I'd like to just take a moment to review procedure, that the nominations will be taken verbally, but when it's time for the vote, you'll please complete the information that is reflected on that ballot, indicating the name of the nominee that you are voting for, and then please print and sign your name. You can fold the sheet afterwards, and then all the ballots will come to me, and then I will tally the ballots. Okay, so we begin with the nominations for board president. May I have such nomination? Mrs. Becker.
It is my pleasure and privilege to nominate Lori Lax for the position of board president. Lori has a generosity of time and spirit that is so rare. She has a unique ability to be compassionate and empathetic, while at the same time remembering what all her responsibilities are. And they are great. As a member of a consensus-seeking board, we ensure the district is well-run. We don't run the district, and Lori knows that. Lori knows that very well. Lori understands what it means to think globally. She has been learning for over a decade how to be a wonderful board member. And she takes her life experience and her experience as a parent in this district and combines it with everything she has learned as a board member. She is fair. She's got a great sense of humor, which you will need. And she listens, and she learns, and she will continue to learn from each and every one of us every single day. She truly understands what it means to be a board member and to do the best thing for this district, and I hope you will join me in supporting Lori for board president. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Becker. Are there any other nominations before? Okay. Seeing none, I close the nominations for board president, and now I ask that the board members please complete their vote sheet, and please turn them into me, please. Nine ballots are here. First vote for Lori Lax, Mark Carangelo. Second vote for Lori Lax, Heather Guas. Abstention, Mark Sismar. Vote for Lori Lax, Li Wu Hong. Abstention, Jeffrey Winston. A vote for Lori Lax, Barbara Reese. A vote for Lori Lax, Susanna Chu. A vote for Lori Lax, Lori Lax. And a vote for Lori Lax, Vicki Becker. Lori has a vote of 7 in favor, and so Lori is the duly elected president. Congratulations. So we'll continue now with the vote for board vice president. Yes? Okay. And so may I have any nominations from the board vice president and Susanna Chu?
Yes, I would like to nominate Heather Guas for board vice president. 2 years ago, the public elected a new member to the Board of Education, and I didn't know much about Heather Guas. I read her profile. I learned that she's a special education and English teacher with over 30 years of experience. She's worked with East Brunswick's Daisy Recreation program for over 10 years and teaches professional development programs, and is a parent of 3 students in the district. And then I listened to her participate in the EBEA's Meet the Candidate Forum. And I was really impressed with her thoughtful responses to the questions that were posed to the candidates. So I was watching her and I said, we've got a good one here. And now that she's been on the board over the past couple of years, I've seen her participate as a member of the board that brings a perspective as an educator and as a parent. She's thoughtful, intelligent, respectful, and caring. Most importantly, she is a passionate advocate of initiatives that place our children first and the care of our community. We've been facing unprecedented challenges, and I know that Heather, like Lori and Vicki before her, will provide the leadership in a manner that encourages open, respectful dialogue, And we're not always going to agree on all the issues, but she understands we can only move forward by listening to diverse perspectives and by working together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Chu. Are there any other nominations from the floor for the position of Vice President? Seeing none, I'm closing the nominations at this time, and as we did for President, you have a ballot for the Vice President. Please complete the ballot, fold it, and turn your ballot in to the Board Secretary. Thank you. We have 9 ballots. A vote for Heather Gloss from Mark Perangelo. A vote for Heather Gloss from Heather Gloss. Abstention from Mark Sismar. A vote for Heather Gloss from Lee Woo Hong. An abstention from Jeffrey Winston. A vote for Heather Gloss from Barbara Reese. A vote for Heather Gloss from Susanna Chu. A vote for Heather Gloss from Lori Lax. A vote for Heather Gloss from Vicki Becker. Heather, as the duly elected Vice President, a vote of 7 board members, congratulations. I think at this time, Mrs.
Lori wants to
Lax,
say something.
any comments that you'd like to make?
Yes. I was a little nervous, so I wrote this down because I don't want to mess it up. So I'm not as good at this as Vicki is, but maybe, I'll get there. So I just want you all to know that I'm guessing you're all going to want to echo my sentiments, but I'm going to go first because I finally get to. A year ago, I gave a nominating speech for Vicki Becker for board president. I told you how I felt that Vicki was a personification of grace under pressure, as evidenced by how she steadied the helm during these unprecedented times that were supposed to be behind us. I told you how Vicki was both our mother hen and fierce lioness, not just for the folks sitting up here at the dais, but for the thousands of staff, students, parents, residents of East Brunswick. I told you that being a leader is not easy, but Vicki certainly made it look like it was, even when it seemed like every curveball thrown at us was followed by another one, barely giving anyone a moment to catch their breath. I didn't, however, tell you that Vicki is one of the most caring and loyal people that I've come to know well over the past decade. Her desire to make everyone happy may seem like such an unattainable goal, but she somehow finds a way to make sure that those around her always feel heard and valued, no matter which side of the issue they're on. I didn't tell you that Vicki's sons graduated years ago, yet she treats the 8,000 current students as if they were her own. I didn't tell you that her leadership will not be defined by a title, because the truth is, she has been and will continue to be a leader on this board no matter which seat she occupies. So now that I feel like I just gave my favorite coworker their bon voyage retirement speech, I'm not, however, gearing up for a tearful goodbye, because as we're all settling in for the work that will need to be done, thankfully we will still have Vicki right here beside us, as together we can hopefully finally embark on that path back to normalcy. Vicki, words seem inadequate at this moment, but thank you for all you have done in your presidency tenure. I have some large shoes to fill, but thankfully, over the past few years, you've given me some great socks, so I'm going to try.
Thank you, Lori.
Okay.
Can we open it to?
Mrs. Chu?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Lori just said and just say, I think Vicki has been on the board for maybe 20-ish, 22 years. She chose, I would say, the 2 most challenging years probably to become the president, to be the president during these last 2 years, I say, has been I would imagine probably the most challenging years of the board. I mean, I haven't been here as long as you have, but I don't think we've dealt with anything this challenging. And the time and effort that you put into this, you know, I don't think words are enough to say thank you for what you put into it, of yourself, of your time, of your caring. And really, you know, I think you said it before, 9 board members, it's a task to make sure that everybody is heard, is feel heard, has the opportunity to express views and thoughts, and just kind of keeping track of who's saying what, where, you know, that alone, you know, through this difficult time, that's a lot to do, and thank you for that. Thank you for the 22 years, but especially the last 2.
Thank you, Susanna.
Mr. Carangelo.
I'd like to thank you, Vicki. You've been such an amazing help to me, more than anyone can imagine. I know that Lori's going to come in and do a great job as well. And everybody, Jeff, everyone here has helped me so much. So I look forward to continue working, but, you know, you're the best. I really see how you've helped me, and you've listened to me so many times. No one really knows how much we communicate, because I'm like, what about? But you've helped me, and I appreciate it so much. So you know, thank you so much for being who you are, because you've been very patient with all of us. And again, I've learned from everybody, Mr. Hong. So I really appreciate being with you guys. I think I've emailed, or it was a holiday, I guess, text that I said I'm so honored. And I really am honored to be with all of you, actually. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for all of this.
Mr. Hong.
Yes, it enough has been said about Vicki. I want to thank you personally as a board member and as parents of East Brunswick public school students. And I want to say something for Lori. Being a board member is very challenging. It needs a lot of commitment and a lot of devotion. So, you know, I'm looking forward to your leadership, because we have so many challenges ahead of us, such as the construction of new high school or the budget, all kind of issues. So we need your leadership, and I have faith on you, and I believe you will do a good job. Thank you for taking this position. It's a very challenging position. It's not for you. It's not for the title. It's the leadership we entrust to you. Thank you.
Mrs. Reese.
I just wanted to echo the sentiments, actually also that Susanna said about having her heart always is in the right place. She really puts all, Vicki has always put her all into everything she does here for the district. And we thank you for all your service, hours and hours that people don't realize that she puts in behind the scenes. And also to wish Lori and Heather all the best. I'm very excited. You know, it's a bittersweet, right? Because we're sad that, you know, there's a change, but we're happy that it's a new beginning as well. And it's a lot of challenges ahead, like Lee said. And we're all going to work together. And luckily, Vicki's still here to advise and to give us support. But really, her hardworking and dedication is basically been here for she's been here for so many years, but the last 2 years really have been a challenge, and we thank you.
Anyone else? Mrs. Wass.
I was thinking about it a lot over the last week or so, as, you know, we faced coming back to school, and I was thinking about all the challenges, but then I started thinking about who I have learned you are over the past 2 years, and it is so very impressive that Vicki is who she is all the time. It's a rare quality in someone who deals with a lot of people, but Vicki is exactly who she is all the time. You are loyal all the time. You strive for excellence all the time, even when it is not easy and no one is looking. And you are respectful no matter what the circumstance. And you are honest. No one will tell you how quickly, if they feel they are flawed or have made a mistake or saying something unpopular, you are honest. But you are all of these strong leadership things quietly and consistently. And I was thinking about you because, I will digress, but I'm an English teacher, so that's what we do. I was thinking about you while I was teaching this week, because I was talking about the hero's journey, and I was trying to explain to a freshman that the guide is critical in the hero's journey. I said you have to have the guide, I'm teaching this class, and I'm saying, the guide is a quieter voice, but the questions they ask speak to the identity of the quest, and they understand the themes. And, they may not be the hero out in front, but you have to have the guide there, asking the hard questions and pushing the journey forward. And this very small boy in the front row came up after the class and he said, but doesn't that make the guide the hero? And I said, shh, tell no one. But I feel that way about you. I feel that you choose to be the guide, and that does make you our hero. So thank you.
Thank you. Can I?
Yep, absolutely.
It's been my pleasure to be president of this board for the last few years. I thank all of you for what you said. But I'm not trying to fake being modest, saying that I could not do this without this group. This is a really good board. I think we could become a great one. I know what you said, Liwu. It's not just a title, but I've always felt that board president it's a title and a seat. Somebody has to lead the meetings, board president does. Somebody has to be the spokesperson, the board president does. But we are 9 individuals who have absolutely no authority unless we are sitting with each other like we are now and seeking consensus. And not one of us has any more authority than the others. We all have the ability within ourselves to be great board members. I ask, words of wisdom, if you will, that we put all our energies and focus into being the best board members we can. Because it is only by doing that that we're going to best serve the students and staff that count on us. I thank all of you for everything you give to me and still give to me and to each other. And I look forward to us becoming a great board. Dr. Valesky, I shall always treasure the memories of my partnership with you. But I want you to know, even though I'm not board president anymore, you're still older than I am. And you always will be. Thank you for everything. You too, Bernie. You guys have been amazing. Lou. Thank you.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we'll call a brief recess so that we can rearrange our seats. And we'll be back in a few minutes.
On to our regular business. Actually, all right, so we're starting with number 9?
Yes.
Okay. The adoption of New Jersey School Board Member Code of Ethics to the East Brunswick Board of Education Code of Ethics. Can I please have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Lee, second by Vicky. Before we call the roll, I would like to actually do something that Vicky had started, which I thought was very good. Let's go around and have every board member read one of these. Mark, can I start with you? You're going to pass on the reading? Okay, all right. Lee Wu, may I start with you then, with number 1?
Sure, of course, my pleasure. I will uphold and enforce all laws, I'm sorry, let me take my glasses off. It's getting old. State board rules and regulations and court orders pertaining to schools. Desired changes should be brought about only through legal and ethical procedures.
He took his off. I need my glasses. Give me time, but I'll try. I will make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of children and will seek to develop and maintain public schools which meet the individual needs of all children, regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing.
I will confine my board action to policymaking, planning, and appraisal, and I will help those to frame policies and plans only after the board has consulted those who will be affected by them.
I will carry out my responsibility not to administer the schools, but together with my fellow board members to see that they are well-run.
I will recognize the authority rests with the Board of Education and will make no personal promises nor take any private action which may compromise the board.
I will refuse to surrender my independent judgment to special interests or partisan political groups or to use the schools for personal gain or for the gain of friends.
I will hold confidential all matters pertaining to the schools which, if disclosed, would needlessly injure individuals or the schools. But in all other matters, I will provide accurate information and in concert with my fellow board members, interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for the schools.
I will vote to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendations of the Chief Administrative Officer. I'm still gonna pass.
I will support and protect school personnel, improve performance of their duties.
I will refer all complaints to the Chief Administrative Officer and will act on such complaints at public meetings only after failure of an administrative solution.
Thank you for sharing that with me. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Colangelo?
Yes.
Mrs. Chu?
Yes.
Mr. Sismar?
Yes.
Mrs. Guas?
Yes.
Mr. Hahn?
Yes.
Mrs. Reese?
Yes.
Mr. Winston?
Yes.
President Lax?
Yes. Motion carries. The remaining items are on the reorganization agenda, or formalities that we do each year. I'm going to ask for a motion to combine items 10 through 15, but before I do, is there anyone that needs anything separated out? Okay, seeing none, can I ask a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Becker, second by Mr. Colangelo. Will the secretary please call the roll? Oh, I'm so sorry. Any discussion? Look at that. Seeing none, will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Colangelo?
Yes.
Mrs. Chu?
Yes.
Mr. Sismar?
Yes.
Mrs. Guas?
Yes.
Mr. Hahn?
Yes.
Mrs. Reese?
Yes.
Mr. Winston?
Yes.
President Lax?
Yes.
Motion
Motion
carries.
carried. And we are up to our superintendent's report. Now I'm looking to the right versus the left. Okay, you start.
Thank you, Mrs. Lax. Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Congratulations to our 3 returning board members and to the new board leadership. Tonight, the artwork on display in the boardroom was created by students at East Brunswick High School.
It's fantastic.
The art teachers of these talented students are Antonio Germanis, Megan Buckley, Donna D'Amico, Angela Dearson, Rachel Roman, Matthew McCarthy, Jeffrey Novak, and Jeffrey Davis. Dr. Michael Vanella is the principal. Our current COVID protocol information can be found in the COVID updates tile located on the district homepage at ebnet.org. When we refer to tiles, those are those blocks that you see down there on the screen. At this time, the New Jersey Department of Health has not adopted the CDC quarantine guidance for K-12 schools. And just to emphasize, CDC recently recommended reducing the quarantine from 10 days to 5 days, but that is for the public and for healthcare. I talked to the Department of Health today. The Department of Health has not adopted the CDC recommendation at this time. Our Remote Learning Center was well attended and fully functional this week. The Remote Learning Center will continue to operate until January 14th during regular hours. And on Monday, technology was distributed to, let me see, I think I jumped ahead. There you go, I'm sorry. This is what happens when the superintendent runs the video. That's the Remote Learning Center. There we go with technology. On Monday, technology was distributed to our K-2 students. These devices will stay with these students for the remainder of the school year. And to receive support for district devices or services, parents can email the district at parentsupport@ebnet.org or call 732-613-6633. The help desk is staffed on business days from 7:30 a.m. till 4 o'clock p.m. And this information is also under the messages that I typically deliver, which are housed on those tiles on the website as well. And due to the district's current remote status, the Child Nutrition Department is offering grab-and-go breakfast and lunch meal pickup. And kudos to all these individuals who have worked so diligently beyond what we ever expected during the pandemic and beyond. Breakfast and lunch meal pickup started today. Visit the district website for pickup days, times, and locations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Valesky. That brings us to the good of the cause for the public. Oh, Nora, I'm so sorry. See, I told you, and you're our favorite part. My apologies. I get to hear what's going on at the high school.
Right. Well, I'll start with not much is going on at the high school.
That's true. That's very true.
Just before the break, I'd mentioned last time we had our Spirit Week. It was very successful, lots of participation, some very fun costumes from staff and students all around. As I just mentioned, we're adapting to virtual learning again for these 2 weeks, hopefully. Students are more prepared for it than we were last year since we've done this already and we're used to it. It's not the ideal situation, as I'm sure anyone you ask would tell you, but we are settled in doing it and it's going almost well, as well as virtual learning can be. One added benefit is that we get to sleep in a little later, so that's good. We've also had clubs that are making that shift back to virtual so they can continue running. I know clubs that I'm in at least have done a very great job of that and keeping their general membership informed of what's going on. We had a fun winter break and we're back and getting ready for midterms coming up at the end of January, and everyone is looking forward to being back in school on January 18th. And lastly, I just wanted to say congratulations to everyone that was reelected into the new positions today, and Happy New Year for everyone, and Merry Christmas to anyone that celebrates it.
Thank you. Actually, it's interesting when you said that about how this year we're better prepared. Do you find, and it's a curiosity, and it just made me think I should ask my kid this as well, do you find it's actually easier going on virtual this year because you have a relationship with the staff that you didn't have last year going in? When students that started and did virtual all year, you didn't actually get the face-to-face. I'm just wondering if that makes things a little bit easier as a student and also for the staff because you have their relationships and you know them. So you're kind of looking at them online, but you have, you kind of get who they are at this point. Does that help you at all when you're going, to the virtual classes now?
It definitely does help. I think it helps the teachers a lot, especially when we have our cameras on, and it feels, a lot of my teachers have said, it feels like you're teaching an actual person, not just to the screens. And I know for me personally, it is good to be able to keep just like a more normal situation and talking to the teachers and seeing your classmates. It's definitely
I look
better.
forward to one day talking about how we survived this and laughing at it.
So do I.
Yeah, you got a little grayer.
Thanks.
And so Vicky will always be younger than you, but I'll always be younger than her, thankfully.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Happy
No.
Happy birthday, Lori.
That's the worst day to say it.
Happy
sorry.
birthday, Lori.
Okay,
Happy birthday, Lori.
so
Yay, happy
the
birthday.
Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. To protect the privacy of all students and staff, concerns regarding individual students and staff members should generally be addressed by first meeting with the appropriate administrative staff. A participant is limited to 3 minutes duration. Elapsed time will be determined through the use of a timing device operated by the board secretary. Is there anyone this evening that wishes to address the board? You could please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Dimitri Charlotte, 2030.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your name?
Dimitri Charlotte.
Thank you.
2030. Thank you very much. I'll make it quick. So the first school closures due to the pandemic occurred in 2020. We are now in 2022, and we have kids that are still being put into the position of having to learn via Zoom, unfortunately. Remote schooling has now been a part of our kids' lives for about 3 grades. It looks like this pestilence, if you will, is becoming endemic and seasonal, which means that we have to have protocols in place to make certain that schools stay open. remote school is not effective, and it is very difficult on our children. And I think that we really can't afford to have our kids bear the burden of the lack of a plan by the community and by the school board. And so I ask that there is a plan in place, that we don't have to shut down the schools anymore. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I noticed that Karen and Janet aren't here. Is there someone who we could leave the information to?
We'll take the name. If anybody collect, Bernie can write down, and we'll make sure we get back with anybody.
Okay. Did you hear that, Mr.?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, if you want to leave your name and information, I'll make sure that somebody can get back to you.
I don't know that he was making a
I'm
statement.
sure, I mean, if somebody is willing to
Well, is that what you-
put down a plan, I would love that, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I do know, well,
Just write down your name and
Yeah.
email and phone number.
I'm sorry, as you can tell, I'm new at this, but I do know that generally, this forum is designed for you to speak to us and not for us to necessarily be in a position to answer you back. So I don't want to make it look like we're ignoring what you're saying. I just want to make sure I do right by you, so.
Yes, no, thank you very much.
But I appreciate
understand,
your
and I'll leave
comments.
my name after the,
Thank you.
thank you.
Did anyone else?
Hi, my name is Oleg Dun, and I live at 13 Lycoming Lane. I've been here before. Knowing that the district and the state are fully committed to keeping schools open, I was actually going to come speak in support of that. With some 88% of adults in our town vaccinated, it seems like there is no need to keep schools closed. But we have an understandable situation where we just don't have enough teachers to open school buildings. And East Brunswick is not the only district in this situation. I know there are private and parochial schools that ran into this problem as well. I want my kids in school, but given a choice between remote or half-empty schools, I understand that remote is actually better as they sit in their comfortable chairs. I get it. I'm also grateful that arts-related after-school activities are ongoing and in person and not just athletics. I want to acknowledge that our teachers are caring and compassionate and deserve respect. None of my kids' teachers want to continue with remote either. This Board of Education and Dr. Valesky have their hearts in the right place and try to do what's best for our town. And despite my occasional complaining, I do have faith in the way the district is run. As taxpayers of this town, though, to piggyback on what my friend said, we need to be honest with ourselves why we don't have enough teachers, subs, and other staff. In the short term, I know that Biden administration reminded us that they allocated $130 billion worth of COVID relief funds to schools. Maybe some of that can be used for hiring incentives for teachers and staff and higher pay for subs. I'm also hoping we can revisit some COVID preparedness topics because COVID isn't going anywhere. We're going to have these waves of respiratory illness of some kind with COVID involved. We need to keep classrooms safe so they stay open. I would like to see our school district revisit upgrades to HVAC systems and portable HEPA units that we discussed in the fall. And looking ahead, some of the current COVID rules, and I know our district isn't making those decisions at New Jersey Department of Health, but the rules predate widespread vaccinations, such as seemingly excessive contact tracing and quarantining of large numbers of kids for exposure for several days. And finally, what I'm going to do on my part, I will reach out to other elected officials and see if they can help with the implementation of test to stay, because it's not possible with lack of tests availability, PCR or rapid. So that's all I prepared.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Come on.
How you doing? Ryan Mangles. I wrote to you a bunch of times, Dr. Valesky too, so I felt it was right that I come and address you in person. I'm basically here to ask you to advocate. Now, I'm kind of learning the whole process, and actually what you guys said when you read the, I'm not sure what that was, but what your oaths actually helped me a lot. The artwork is beautiful. The students did this in school. I just want to make sure, and I don't think the artwork here would be possible without them being in school. I'm here to ask you to advocate to New Jersey Department of Health some logical quarantine rules, not based on a vaccine, but based on symptoms. I'm vaccinated. I've gotten COVID twice. My family has gone through it. It doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not. What we're fighting is, unfortunately right now, it's a cold. I mean, I'm just a regular layman. I'm a union worker. I work for the public utility. I'm seeing it in my company as well, that the illness is not what's really causing the problem now, it's actually the policies. So any way that you can, maybe be subcommittee, student services ahead, that they can actually maybe head off this Department of Health and somehow advocate for our children to be in school. It's very hard for them. It doesn't affect me. I'm a shift worker. I'm home most of the days anyway. My wife stays at home and works. She works part-time. So honestly, I'm coming to you as somebody who's not affected by this at all. I mean, I actually, as a couple teachers, I actually want to thank Miss Mado, Miss Janchuk in Warrensdorf, Ryan Mangles, 5 Louise Drive. So my kids in Warrensdorf and Hammershaw. Amazing. I've actually got to hear the positivity out of them. I mean, they're really great teachers. They're handling as well. But I just really want to ask you guys if we can head this off and come up with some really logical, not based on politics, not based on, everyone wants, that's basically the logic if you look at it. It comes down to it. They just want everyone with the vaccine. I mean, but let's logically head this off and, see if we can come up so that these kids can stay in school. Because I just want to repeat, it's the illness at this point we're going to deal with, but it's the policies that are going to make the big difference. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols.
Hi, my name is Sharon Sullivan. I'm currently the council president in town. And I just wanted to come up here and thank each and every one of the board members for all the volunteering you have done, not just today, but all the days. And not everyone always agrees on everything, but at the end, I know you all do what you think is the best for each and every student, and I appreciate that. And I would like to thank Lori Lax and Heather, and I wish them the best year ever, and the rest of you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board?
Erin Jenkins Baird, 24 West Amherst. I wasn't here for this, but as a healthcare provider, I 100% back you. You're doing the best thing for my children. But as a parent with a child with severe ADHD and oppositional defiant disorder, if you could possibly consider maybe for some of the special ed students, possibly removing them from a gym and giving them caseworker time or something where they can benefit because they don't have that ability to be overwhelmed, get up and walk down to the caseworker. It sets my household in a tailspin when she's out of whack. And I think other parents probably have the same thing. But as somebody who unfortunately is 3 inches from a mouth every single day, the severity of this is no joke, and you're doing the best thing for our kids, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board this evening? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion and move on to our Board of Education items. There are 2. Before I call for motions, are there any items that need separating out by anyone? No, then can I please have a motion for items 1 and 2 on the Board of Education agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Winston, second by Mr. Carangelo. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask the secretary to please call the roll.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Carangelo?
Yes.
Mrs. Chu?
Yes on 1 and abstain from 2.
Noted. Mr. Sismar?
Yes.
Mrs. Guas?
Yes.
Mr. Hahn?
Yes.
Mrs. Reese?
Yes.
Mr. Winston?
Yes.
And President Lax.
Yes. Motion carries. Before I ask for a motion to combine items 1 through 3 on our facilities agenda, is there anything that anyone needs separated out? Okay, seeing none, may I please have a motion for items 1 through 3 on the
So
facilities
moved.
agenda? Moved by Mrs. Becker, second by Mr. Carangelo. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I thought it would be worthwhile for, to ask Mr. Giuliano to provide an update on the ESIP project. I know it was a very long and arduous process to apply for these energy savings incentives that the district utilized. So I see the final project acceptance certificate on the agenda here. So it sounds like the project is done?
The project is completed. What I would suggest, Dr. Valesky and I have talked about this, perhaps at the next meeting or the one following, we can do a presentation regarding what the scope of that work was. And particularly what I think is the exciting part is the solar projects that have been done. They're now active at a number of our facilities, and I'd like to be able to show what kind of return we're getting out of those systems.
That's great. Yeah, and you know, I know it was a lot of work on the part of your department to apply for these, the program, and probably years of work. I don't know how long it was, but a long time. And the district will see energy savings. It's good for the environment. It's good for reducing costs. I just wanted to call that out because I think it was a tremendous accomplishment.
Bernie, remind me, we've been investing in and really putting our money where our mouth is for a long time with energy savings. When did we first get involved in that energy consortium? Do you remember? Like 10 years ago?
Yeah, actually, it was in the 90s that we started with a real concerted effort, and actually even before then, but we were involved with an energy savings program in the 90s where we were actually able to measure what our savings were over a period of time. And the district, East Brunswick Public Schools, we received some awards for being a leader in the Northeast United States in energy conservation. And that was to the tune of many millions of dollars.
And then there was another energy consortium that we got involved in on top of that, where people were tracking when they turned their computers on and off.
That's what part of this was.
That was all
Yes,
part of that?
And it was a
Okay.
continuous program.
So we've really been very committed to energy savings and to the tune of millions of dollars.
Yes.
It's pretty good.
Yep.
Anyone else? Okay, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries, bringing us to financial services. It is one item. May I please have a motion for item number 1 on financial services? Moved by Mr. Winston, second by Mrs. Becker. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. On the travel report, employee number 25066, $1,275 to go virtually. This is a travel report. Should that fall under professional development?
Let me just pull that report up, so just give me a moment.
What was the distance, I guess, with the computer?
Be a registration sometimes.
That would be professional development.
Right, but all PD, even if it's virtual, falls under the requirements of the administrative code and the policy for how they need to be approved. So registrations, whether it's in person and at a remote location or even virtually, still has to go through this process of being approved as a travel report.
But we've approved separate line items for professional development on several things, and that hasn't appeared on the travel report.
Correct.
This is the travel report, am I right?
Yes, that's correct. And
Okay.
so where you see a professional development instance being shown. That's typically where we have outside individuals coming in to present for our staff. This is one where staff is participating in perhaps an online conference or a live conference. That's a totally different situation.
Okay, it's misleading, but okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Colangelo?
Yes.
Mrs. Chu?
Yes.
Mr. Sismar?
Yes.
Mrs. Wass?
Yes.
Mr. Hong?
Yes.
Mrs. Reese?
Yes.
Mr. Winston?
Yes.
And President Wax?
Yes. Motion carries. Before I ask for a motion combining items 1 and 2 on our human resources agenda, is there anything that anyone needs separated out? Okay, seeing none, then I'm going to ask for a motion on items 1 and 2 under our human resources. Moved by Mrs. Becker, second by Mr. Colangelo. Yeah. Is there any discussion?
Could I make a comment, please?
Absolutely.
I just want to give a shout out to our HR director, Denny Ruggiero. This has been a difficult time for all of us, but especially in the HR perspective. And I know there was some commentary from at the Good of the Cause about, trying to make sure that we had enough employees, enough staff. And I think it's important to let the community know, and I will do this in future messaging too, that not just in East Brunswick, but on a national level, we're looking at a complete shift in individuals who are interested in coming into education and staying in education. There is going to be a deficit of individuals, and Danny's done a terrific job of finding people to fill our positions, but that doesn't mean that we still, every single day, need extra positions. Our substitute pool, like every other district in New Jersey, has been decimated this year because individuals who would have been our substitute pool have chosen to stay out of the workforce or have chosen to take other career paths. And so that's going to be an impact. And I just wanted to mention that publicly because it's something that's a focus for us, but it's something we're really going to have to concentrate on for the next 5, 6, 7 years.
I love it when lasting effects of this. Anybody else? No? Okay, will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Colangelo?
Yes.
Mrs. Chu?
Yes.
Mr. Sismar?
Yes.
Mrs. Guas?
Yes.
Mr. Hong?
Yes.
Mrs. Reese?
Yes.
Mr. Winston?
Yes.
President Lax?
Yes, motion carries. Before I ask for a motion combining the items on our staff development, is there anyone that needs anything separated out? No, then can I please have a motion for items 1 and 2 under staff development? Motion by Mr. Carranza, second by Mrs. Becker. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this is not a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Bringing us to our student services agenda. Before I ask for a motion combining these items, is there anything that anyone needs separated out? No, then may I please have a motion for items 1 through 3 on our student services agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Becker, second by Mrs. Reese. Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to maybe just highlight and thank Dr. Figueroa and his team for this, number 2, the special education department reaching out and providing help with the transition from high school to college. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Reese. Yes, this is Elizabeth Cohen-Hamblett, who is a learning disability specialist, and she is going to help students and families with post-secondary transition, which is something that we've been looking more into, trying to help families with. So we're very excited about this. Our CPAG group has been involved with us as well in this venture, so we're very happy, and we look forward to doing more of this for our parents and families.
Mrs. Becker.
I also wanted to say, Lou, I think this is a fantastic service for our special needs families, because we often overlook parts of students' life in terms of educating the parents, in terms of making sure that we include the special needs population, and certainly their transition post-secondary is just as important and crucial, and I applaud you and your staff for really highlighting it and spotlighting it for them.
Thank you, Ms. Becker.
Mr. Hong?
So this presentation will come in very soon. My question is, what did you do, or what are you going to do to reach those parents who will benefit for this presentation?
Oh, thank you for that question, Mr. Hahn. We are trying to build a better program because, as Ms. Becker had said, there's always ways to improve, and that transition from high school to adulthood, if you will, whether it be college, trade, even life skills. These are things that we are working now with, trying to improve, trying to make better. So this is one of our first steps in trying to improve that transition. But it's an ongoing situation where we're going to continue to make sure that we follow our students and we help our families. And so we're very excited about, this is a nice position to be in right now at this time. So we're hoping that more of our parents and families will work with us as we go forward.
I understand this is a very good program. So my question is, how are you going to reach out to those special need parents, families, so they can get to the presentation, they can listen, they can learn or attend this presentation?
We'll be reaching out, so there's several ways. We do have our special education parents group that we work with very closely. And we also have special education parents that have also been with us for many years, and they have additional groups. So we will be putting this out on the website. We'll be promoting this like we would do many of our other programs. And we'll be doing a lot of personal, trying to reach out personally to a lot of our families that we know this would benefit.
Thank you. That's the answer I want to know.
Okay.
The proactivity.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask, actually, speaking of the proactivity. Do you have the counselors or some of the child study team members, are they good at identifying parents that could use some of these supports and inviting them personally versus having to wait to see what's on the website?
We're very fortunate that we have kept very close relationships with many of our families, especially those who are still in town. Our student services, anyone who's been involved in our student services, as you have seen that our families, many of them, their children are already out of school, but they continue staying with us, helping us, giving us their opinions so that we can continue to improve those relationships and continue to help those families. So we'll be reaching out in all of those ways to make sure that as many people as we can get will be able to partake in this particular, but we're hoping this is the first in many sessions.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Brings us to our,
Roll call.
oh, see? Look at it, it's funny. You do make it look easy. I've sat through this for 10 years and, all of a sudden.
Give yourself a break, babe. It's only meeting number 1.
Well, I can only get better from here, though. See, I'm setting the bar really low. Okay. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Becker.
Yes.
Mr. Carangelo.
Yes.
Mrs. Chu.
Yes.
Mr. Sizemore.
Yes.
Mrs. Guas.
Yes.
Mr. Hahn.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese.
Yes.
Mr. Winston.
Yes.
And President Wax.
Yes. Motion carries. This is where Vicki mentioned my sense of humor. Thank God for that. Okay. Moving on. Are there any committee reports? I was going to fold that all in. Can I fold that all in?
Yeah, you can.
For new and old, we don't have new and old business. If there is new and old business, please feel free to share it now. If not, if you would like to present any committee reports or good of the cause items for the board, I would be happy to hear them. Mr. Mark Sizemore.
Good of the cause, I have several. First, I'd like to thank the members of the public that take time out of their night to come out here. We do listen. Sometimes our hands are tied as far as responses. That's why you don't get responses from us individually. But we do hear, and I have to say, some very reasonable requests tonight. So thank the members of the public that took time to come out. There's no particular order. Dr. Valesky, I spoke a little bit about the stress from COVID and stuff. It's a small gesture, but I think it's a large one tomorrow afternoon. Just so people out there can know you like I know you. You do what you can, you know, even if it's, maybe the kids can get outside, maybe the kids can get a little bit of normalcy, we'll call it. You know, so I appreciated that when I saw that message come out, and, you know, I know you do what you can, and I know you got a very difficult job, so thank you for all you do, and the staff every day. Mrs. Lax, Mrs. Guas, good luck. You know, I don't have to explain my extensions, but there's problems I have with process, but not with the people. So I wish you both the best of luck, and I did applaud when you got elected. So good luck. And you, I didn't forget you before. You know, I'm more of a stickler for like order. So then when people started thanking you back then, I'm like, I thought that was good of the cause. So I'm going to thank you during the good of the cause. The pencils. The 9 pencils, the pencil speech, when I nominated you a couple years ago. You know, and you did carry that through, you know. You had the 9 of us there. Some of us have weakness in certain areas, some of us have strength in certain areas. And I thought you navigated that very well. You knew who to reach out to that had an expertise in education or, you know, whatever somebody had. And the diversity here is good. And, you know, by diversity, I mean skill. You know, you got it done. You know, I felt very comfortable with you up there.
Thank you.
And again, I think someone else said it. We don't always agree. And that's a good thing. Because if you have 9 lemmings going off of a cliff, that's not good. You know, one of the lemmings has to stand up and say, hey, hey, cliff. You know? Sometimes I'm that lemming. But, you know, it's all, we're all here for the same purpose. So thank you for your lengthy service and your continued service. I think that about sums it up in no particular order, but, you know, let's get a good 2022. So thank you, everybody.
Let's hope for a great 2022. And actually, I'm going to, give me 1 second, because you reminded me of something when Mark talked about the snow day yesterday. I don't think, tomorrow.
Oh, okay, I was going
I
to
don't
say it
think-
was snow day
you know, it's
yesterday.
because it's my birthday,
Yeah,
so now I'm
okay,
getting closer
yeah.
to your age.
Oh, God. here we
So
go.
I don't think that a lot of people realize, from what I've heard, there's not a lot of districts, if any, that open remote learning centers. And that goes along with what Mark is saying about how you do. People don't realize how hard your job is. And no matter what you do, there's going to be somebody that's going to be happy, someone that's going to be unhappy. And you handle that all with such grace under pressure. But I have to say, the remote learning center, for me, because my children are older, and I think Mr. Mengel said how his children aren't affected by certain things because he's at home or has the ability to have someone. I've always been so concerned about the elementary parent who has to be at work, that can't leave a second grader home alone. And that was always one of my challenges with closing schools for safety, while knowing that we're having, you know, this hardship on people. I'm so in awe of that decision that you made. I just wanted to say, you know, I love the kids making snowmen tomorrow. I hope there's not that much snow because I hate snow.
We're going to have some snow.
But
So-
it's okay. I was born in a snowstorm
Yeah.
blah, 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 years ago. But I do have to say that I don't think a lot of people realize, when I've talked to people in surrounding districts, I don't think it's being done. And I just think that was just, kudos to you. I'm sure everyone will say that.
Well,
but-
thank you, but, you know, I'm just one person, and I'm the spokesperson. You hear my voice all the time. But literally, and I'm going to tell you, this was one of the toughest decisions during this entire transition, because the rest of the world is open, and yet here we were, as a school district, having to close. And the mathematics were driving this decision because we simply didn't have enough human resources to safely open our schools. And as we heard from Good of the Cause, there are policies that are constricting us. The 10-day quarantines, we need to move to a 5-day quarantine. And we are going to passionately pursue that, because that is really about maintaining our openness for the rest of the school year, which I'm firmly committed to. But regarding the remote learning centers, it was a phone call from me to Joe Crotchfeld and saying, I want to initiate the remote learning center. Joe said, I've got it. He contacted Anne Marie Gilbert. Everything was in motion because the staff here knows what they have to do. And it is just, it's a pleasure to work with them because I call Lou, I call Joyce, I call Bernie, then it goes. And you don't have to worry about what the next step is. And we wouldn't be successful without that kind of relationship.
You're very humble, and so is your staff. But as I said, so many things you go above and beyond, but that to me was just absolutely, not just a stroke of genius, but just a stroke of compassion and kindness. So I just wanted to, for the parents out there that are affected by that, and that you made one part of this a little bit easier. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, Vicki.
That's okay. Does somebody else have their hand up? Barb?
Oh, did you want to wait?
Well, you go first.
Ah, it's okay, go ahead.
You sure? I just wanted to thank Council President Sullivan for coming and speaking to us. That was very kind of you, and we appreciate all that you and the mayor and the council do, so thank you for coming. And I want to wish happy birthday to Lori. I know she doesn't like to talk about her birthday, but there are not many of us here, so I'll say it anyway. Happy and healthy birthday. That shows her dedication.
Look at my birthday party.
That she's here on her birthday, right? So, and again, I wanted to thank Dr. Valesky and Bernie and Dr. Figueroa and everybody from the district, and especially our teachers and staff. I mean, you know, they were sick. They had, December was crazy. It was, you know, they did everything they could to keep it open before Christmas. I just thank, you know, and as Dr. Valesky says, there aren't, in the future, they don't even know where they're gonna get teachers from. And we have some of the best teachers in the country. So thank you. And you know, all, from our bus drivers to our people that work in the cafeteria, to the people that keep, you know, all the security, I'm sure I'm gonna leave people out, but every facet of the folks that work in our school system, you could see the dedication that they have, like Dr. Valesky and Lori was saying, and Vicki, that they just really wanna be here. And I, as a parent, thank you, and as a board member, thank you. We see it. We see it, and whether it's virtual, whether it's in person, we see it, and we thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Laura. First, I just wanted to congratulate, again, my fellow swornees tonight, Jeff and Barbara. It was a long, interesting campaign, and I'm proud of the three of us. So I just wanted to congratulate you again. Lori, I was going to mention something about the the remote learning center also. What a fantastic move it was by this district to take in consideration a very real aspect of the impact of this. And Dr. Valesky, I greatly appreciate you sharing your compliments with everyone who works for you, but I know how you spearheaded this, and this community is so grateful. You know, this whole thing reminds me of this play that was, I think, in the 80s. It was called Noises Off. Okay, it was very clever, and the first act of the play was you saw the play being performed like in a final dress rehearsal, the way it was supposed to be, and everything went fine. And then Act 2, you saw everything, it was from the point of view of behind the scenes, where everything was just falling apart. But the audience saw the play run smoothly the way it should. Now, this was a comedy, so I'm not going to equate what we're going through as a comedy, obviously, but what's been amazing about this whole thing is all the cast members, if you will, starting with Dr. Valesky, the entire central office team, all the administrators, staff, support staff, the parents, and the students, all had their roles to play. And behind the scenes, there might have been varying degrees of falling apart and disruption and despair and not quite sure if we were going to do it. But it's coming together. imperfectly, of course, because nothing is perfect. But I am amazed by the efforts of the entire cast, if you will, to pull together and get us through yet another aspect of this. I don't know, are we still calling it a pandemic? Endemic? So, I can't wait till the curtain falls on the final act for this one. But until we get there, I know that the show must go on. So kudos to everybody.
Very true. Mr. Winston?
Also, congratulations to those who were sworn in tonight, my fellow colleagues, Barbara and Vicki. I'm happy for you. I won't, as Mr. Sismar explained, my abstention, but I will say that I'm looking forward to finding out what the plan is that was mentioned that would be coming and emerging to create more board unification. So President-elect, I am looking forward to seeing it in action, and I encouraging and certainly want to be a part of that. To the public, I want to say that I want immediately to cease vilifying the teachers in this district because of what is going on. The things that I've read on social media are disgusting when it applies to the teachers, accusing them of such heinous acts of making this some form of campaign of collusion. I want it to stop. These teachers are killing it. They're doing a great job. Personally, I don't like to do the me thing, but I listen to them teach in my house to 4 kids who are in my house. There is nothing wrong with what they're doing. My belief is if your kids aren't getting something out of this and learning this process, that's on you as a parent. Talk to your kids, encourage them to take advantage of what's going on, and stop blaming the teachers. I'm done with it. I want this board to support the things that I'm saying. We can't allow that. Dr. Valesky, this can't be allowed in this community, in this district. These teachers are getting beaten up 3 times a day by 3 different parties. I'm having them call me crying. This is not necessary.
Mr. Winston, I agree. And, I personally am not going to engage in social media because it's disheartening. And I'm not going to get to that level. And but my job is to continue to run this district. I know people will be disheartened or in disagreement with some of the decisions I make, and I'm okay with that. But this was my decision to close the school for these 2 weeks. It was not the teacher's decision. And I believe you could talk to any teacher in this district who would have told any member of this public it would have been far easier to remain in person.
Yep.
And if we could have, we would have done it because we were on a roll. In this disruption, I have such confidence in our staff that they are going to recover from this 2-week period of transition and move it back very quickly. And I think many of our students will too. And we'll have to get some other students support. But I think the families need to start engaging and supporting this community. If they want excellence in education, we have to unify the community too.
Yes.
We do. And that's the problem with social media. But it's a very good point, and it's a very easy thing, and I hate to say it, it used to be, and when you and I went to East Brunswick High School, not to blame current parents, but when you and I went to the high school, if we got a phone call, not that we ever did, because we were, of course, and Mark were stellar students, but if your parents got a message and said that your student did something wrong, what's the first thing your parents said? What did you do, right? You had to account for yourself. And unfortunately, there are some parents out there that will turn around and say to the teacher, what did you do, without realizing that maybe they should be speaking to their child and maybe there is an issue. The bigger issue to me is, and it goes for this and it also goes for here, we're all on the same side. We all want to get through this. If COVID didn't exist, we'd all still be wanting to work together to make sure that every student, from our highest functioning to our most in-need child, is getting whatever the support that they need, because let's face it, no 2 students learn the same way, just like adults don't. So now, as if that wasn't always a challenge in a really great, huge district, now you have COVID. And no matter who you ask, somebody has a difference of opinion, whether schools should be open, schools should be closed, sports, activities, all of these different things. The reality is, we have to remember that the real enemy, and I hate to use that word, is the pandemic, and that we can't blame teachers, we can't blame parents, we all have to find a way to work together. This board, when you ask me how to unify, we are 9 bright individuals, and quite honestly, if we work together, we're going to get through this. We can't end the pandemic, I wish we could for all of our parents and for ourselves, but we can get through it the best way that we can and make sure that our staff, because it's not just the mental health of our students at this point, this is very difficult on the staff. And you're very right, Jeff. So we have to all work together, not all necessarily agree. That's the thing. I've always said to you, I will always respectfully disagree when I need to, but we all have to hear each other and work together, and that goes for the community as well. You know, give us a little leap of faith that Dr. Valesky and his excellent team know what they're doing and are doing their best, because it's not something that's been written before. You know, this is something that we're chartering as we go. So we're going to hope for the best, but I have a lot of faith in you and your team, and I have faith in our staff. And I do have faith in the parents. I do think a lot of these people are letting off steam. It's so frustrating. And depending on what your particular situation is, you never know what someone's going through. I was always taught to look at the actions, you know, that you're behind someone's actions rather than what's fueling it. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, Jeff, I'm not saying that they should do it. I don't ever believe in just, you know, bashing someone or trying to blame someone for the sake of doing that. I'm just saying that, you know, we never know what is going on in somebody else's home or their head.
Oh, no, and that's, I understand.
I prefer them not to blow up steam in such a negative way, but I'm gonna hope whatever pain is driving them to write these vicious things about the teachers is something that they will get some kind of relief from, and we'll get through this.
No, you're more generous than I won't give him a pass for that. But I will say, and regarding a comment that was made that there was no plan, without a plan, there would be no, the education center you set up. With no plan, there wouldn't be food being distributed. With no plan, there wouldn't be the list of actions that you've publicly stated to everybody, what you've done. Without a plan, you're Chicago, you're closed, and you're adding days to the end of the year because they had no plan. So I think we need to be a little more careful on how we approach this thing. You have a plan, the plan is working perfectly, and we will get back in school because of that plan. So that's how I apply to your staff, and probably you, being the point person and all of that, as it's an execution of a perfect plan, in my opinion. So thank you.
Thank you.
You and Barbara.
Go ahead, Bob.
Want to do it up?
No, you go first.
No, I just wanted to say, I had the unusual circumstance of talking to board members in other communities about how people, or how different districts are handling the difficulties with there not being enough staff to have the buildings open. And I just repeatedly say, we're not closed. The buildings are closed. The teachers are still very much teaching. The coaches are still coaching. The administrators are still working. Everyone is still attending school, just the buildings are closed right now, and they're not even fully closed. The part, though, that has been, the plan is extraordinary, and everybody I've talked to from any other district is blown away. They were blown away about, you know, was it K2 or K1?
K2.
K2 computers being handed out that quickly, about the communication to the public being so smooth. They were asking so many questions about the remote learning centers. And so the plan is extraordinary. The part that's been really beautiful to watch, though, has been the execution by individuals and picking up in ways where I don't think people are actually watching. Like, I have been trying, and I've been having an ongoing conversation with Anne Marie Gilbert via email, but I don't think she sleeps right now. And the part that I hadn't really considered when we talked about the remote learning center is that, you know, community programs, they're adding children constantly. This was not like a static, we enrolled the children and now off we go. This is where they're overseeing and new children are coming in and more parents are contacting and reaching out, and it's an ever-evolving situation. But the parents that I speak to that are sending their children there aren't seeing, you know, anything looking ruffled. Everything's fantastic. And I drove through the high school today and I saw the grab-and-go meals being handed out. Everybody there was smiles and it was orderly. And I know in my own home with children of very different ages, I'm watching coaches reach out multiple times to see how everyone is, when everyone's going to be able to come. I don't feel like the isolation that I think we worried about so much the first time that we had to go remote. And the reach out from the teachers, some of the letters or the emails that the teachers wrote about the shift to remote were hysterical. Like, rarely do my children come running to me to share what their teachers have sent them. And they were bringing me things to see. And we're getting emails quickly, can you stop by this school to pick up this package so we can keep moving forward with this project because your child needs just these things so that we don't have to change what they're doing, just the place they're doing it in. And I've just been so impressed by the enthusiasm of the players. I think everyone wants to get back in the building, but everybody's brought a very different energy to it this time, and I think it's been really good for the kids.
If I could, I won't belabor this, but Mrs. Squash, you talked about a plan, and Mr. Winston, you talked about a plan. And that's what makes this go so well, is when, even before this event, everybody that I mentioned, all of the people, all of our directors, supervisors, assistant superintendents, business administrator, and board secretary, there are these multiple mini plans that are developed well in advance of anything ever happening. And then when the event happens, it's plug and play. What plan are we going to pull off here to make this fit? And sometimes you have to modify that plan based on, wow, we can't get enough testing to actually do X, Y, or Z among a particular group of people. Then you get an email from the state who says, oh, by the way, don't call us for testing because we don't have any. So all those things put a twist on everything. But I can tell you, that's what makes us so successful, is everyone has a plan. And they have a plan A, B, and C. And it's a matter of taking whatever it is to apply it. And I applaud everyone for being prepared like that.
Barbara?
Oh, thank you. I also want to echo about the food distribution. It's been a godsend to a lot of people, and thank you again for having a plan for that, so that folks who are not, your kids are not physically in school still have the food that they need. And it's such an important part of school life, so thank you again for that. And then just mental health-wise, I'm sure you're exploring this, but I've gotten some feedback about some of the students are worried about midterms. So I'm sure you're looking into how to modify that or how to make it less stressful because they haven't been in person, and some of the material, and the review and so forth like that is a bit, it's a lot going on. So we appreciate you looking into all that for the teachers and the students.
And our teachers have been so well prepared when we talk about a plan, and they're empathetic too, and their relationship with their students, there isn't anything that a parent can always reach out to their child's teacher, and I encourage parents to do that. That's the best avenue to resolve any issues or concerns. But they're a phenomenal group, and they're the engine that makes this whole thing run.
Absolutely, thank you.
Susanna?
I just had a comment about, what was said about social media, and it is so discouraging to see, teachers who are working so hard be bashed on these places. And that's why I don't go on. I don't look. But I think what's important here is that if people are looking for information, that's not the place we want them to go. We want them to go to EBPS. That's the school's website, the school's Facebook page. Those are your sources of information. So we always have to make sure that comments are being directed back to the official school communication channel, because I don't even want, let them talk into an echo chamber. If you want, it's free speech, you can say whatever you want. I'm not interested in engaging in bashing. And we should make sure that information is, whatever information is needed, let's make sure it's coming out through the school channels, the proper channels.
Mrs. Chu, we do that. We try to encourage parents to redirect to my office through Karen Mandler, and then we will get answers back to parents between Jenna Angeline, Karen Mandler,
And the
myself.
more we do that, instead of people going to social media and saying, hey, what's going on at the schools today? I'm crowdsourcing to find out what's happening at the schools. That's not the way to do it. You want to know what's happening at your kid's school, find out from the school principal. You can reach out to them, or you can reach out to Our site, look at the information, reach out to the superintendent's office, but crowdsourcing for school information is inviting people to do the stuff that you can't shut down because it's free speech.
I don't think it's about shutting it down. I mean, I think when people do that, you had mentioned that's why I won't go there. People do that, and that's why I will go there. Because I'm an elected official on the Board of Education, I want to know what's being said about this district. So I disagree. When they asked Al Capone why he robs banks, he said that's where the money is. And the conversations are taking place on social media. They're not going to go to the official site. They're not going to go to those places. They're going to communicate with one another on a crowdsourced basis. And I feel obligated to monitor these things because in those posts will be word of the worst-case scenario long before they go to the public school sites. And again, and I'll reiterate, I feel an obligation, Mr. Mangles, I mean, I've read many things that you've written, and I appreciate a lot of it, and I think you and I even had a short conversation with it. I'm fine with it. That's where they're talking. You could sit on the public school page all day long, you won't know what's
It may be
going
where
on.
you're talking, but I mean, look, I can't tell you what to do, but personally, I was always told that we don't go out there and speak because, Vicki said it earlier, and we read it. You have no power as one person. If Jeff
All you have
Winston
to do
goes
is
out
say,
there,
in my opinion.
you are taking on these people without the power of our nine. So I caution you personally, just me personally, I don't engage because of that. If somebody comes to me and asks me questions, I'm always the first one to try and help them get to the correct place. But if you are
It's a
going
shame,
and
Lori, because you
engaging.
were asked to represent the public. I'm sorry to hear that's the case.
Guys,
Well-
hang on.
Jeff, but my point is, yes, you're asked to represent the public. I'm just saying to you, you may want to be careful because sometimes if you are engaging, you may find that some people are not always going to be as appreciative and you're going to get yourself into kind of a street rumble at times with people potentially.
I want to interrupt.
Do you want to do that? So.
I want to interrupt. I do go online, and I appreciate you, Jeff, because you're absolutely right. We do want to see, and I observe Jeff's behavior, and it's 1,000% perfect. You're a gentleman online, you treat everyone with respect, and I watch too. And I feel, I'm not saying it's an obligation, but you see me comment, and you comment, and everything you say, people always say, I appreciate what you're saying, I appreciate what you're saying.
Just make sure to remember that you
Oh,
are speaking for
please.
yourself and not for the
No,
board.
I know,
That's the only
but
thing I caution.
I say a lot less than him.
You could,
Though, when,
everyone
our-
has their own, social media.
But
To
when our
me,
superintendent
social
says
media is your kids, your
shareable,
pets, and your.
listen, when our superintendent says shareable and Jeff shares it, it's information that they're not going to the site. Jeff is where people are, and I am too, and I observe. And you do get an understanding of what people are saying. And I keep my mouth shut. I don't want to, but I do.
As I said, I am only speaking to, this is just me.
Yeah, but
I'm
I
not-
see, I'm defending Jeff because I see what Jeff
You don't
posts.
need to defend Jeff. Jeff is fine. I just.
Nor do
I
you
just-
need to reprimand or warn me, because
I
Jeff
wasn't
is fine
reprimanding
for
you,
the
Jeff.
same
I
reason.
apologize if it came out that way. I honestly wasn't. I'm just saying, that to me, I get
think
worried
Jeff does
about
more good than
engaging in a
anything.
way that makes it look like you could be speaking on behalf of the board or
Oh,
putting
no, I
yourself in
make
a
very
position,
clear
so.
this is my opinion. There hasn't been one time I haven't.
Then,
Thank you.
then,
Jeff,
then
you're
that's on
President.
you. Did you have something?
I think that this falls under a heading of a fine line that I'm looking down the row at Matt, actually, that I think I didn't take what Lori was saying as a reprimand, Jeff. I took it as that I think that there's fine lines that all of us need to be reminded of. And that's not saying that any one of us have crossed it yet, but we don't know, what we don't know is what we don't know. And Matt, I know that you're going to do ethics training with us next week. Can you hear me? That's okay.
She's
You just,
frozen, no?
We may have him muted. He's muted.
whatever, it's okay.
Matt,
You don't,
you hear?
just say yes.
I hear you.
Okay,
Gotcha,
so
we
Matt,
gotcha.
I think next week it would be really, not next week, next meeting, talk about the pitfalls of social media that we're not thinking of. But even going beyond social media, when we get a text, for instance, from Dr. Valesky, we've all talked about, don't reply all, but yet some of us do. And again, I keep saying imperfect, we're human beings. The definition of being a human being is imperfect, but I think it's almost like we need a set of guidelines, Matt, in terms of texts, emails, social media, just the pitfalls we may be falling into that we're not thinking
I
of.
apologize for not being there today, but I'm a little.
Yeah, next meeting.
Under the COVID blanket, so to speak. What I can tell you is that a lot of these rules, when you look at the School Ethics Act, a lot of these rules were written before there was social media. And what Mr. Winston's discussing is that now we watch newspapers basically are dying, and everyone gets their news on social media, and they communicate on social media. So folks have to be super careful when they write on it. Everyone has a First Amendment right, and you have to disclose that you're not speaking on behalf of the board. But I'll give you some, real life pointers, and things come up in social media. Not only in social media, the one thing that we always have to be cognizant of is maintaining records that we're putting out there, because when you're speaking, even if it's your own opinion, that technically is a record that could be opened. So we'll get into that on the 20th when I'm there. I apologize for not being able to this evening, but I'm not in the best of health right now.
But
And I
Matt,
wanna
also,
help you guys.
not just social media, but emails and texts also?
Absolutely, I'll cover all that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I remember someone commented the other day that.
And happy birthday, Lori.
Thanks, Matt.
I remember someone commented the other day that says, thank you for answering some questions, Jeff, online, and that's why we voted for you, and we will continue to vote for you. You know what I mean? So you're a little more eloquent than I will be, because I'm a little different type of human being, and you guys really don't see that here. But,
Well, you can go onto social media at your own peril.
Thought. I always get interrupted on this board. So we disagree in a lot of ways, but I do feel that maybe there could be some of all of the others that do look just to see. You may not want to participate, but just look maybe to see. Say, okay, I get it, because there's so many ad hominem attacks against us too. It's against us. They attack us. Ad hominem, they do a lot of stuff for us. So I'm not defending anybody. I just see it, and I have to turn off a lot of times too. But to your point, yeah, maybe there could be some clarification of, okay, what can we engage in, things like that. But that's where they are, and we want to go where the fish are. I want to fish. I want to go where the fish are. So that's why I observe. I mostly observe. But they do say that Jeff does give
But
nice things.
even with
Very professional.
what Matt said before about discoverable, years ago, Matt, weren't we all subpoenaed? And it wasn't just our board email accounts.
Our personal.
It was our personal email accounts that we all had to produce.
People have to be, you have to be reminded that if you're conducting business on any medium, whether it's your board email, your Gmail account, your Yahoo account, your text message, your private phone text message, all that is operable. And I've been in litigation where, and you know what, as I said this before, but as Ben Franklin said, 3 people can keep a secret as long as 2 end up dead. If you put it out there in social media, somebody else is going to have it. Somebody else is going to have it, and they'll produce it. And so if you get into litigation over OPRA, the Open Public Records Act, and you don't turn over a document and it magically appears after the litigation's been commenced, the board loses and they have to pay the attorney's fees. That's the danger of, so that's why I'm always, I urge people to use the official email that you're given. Do not use text messaging. It's a very dangerous thing because it's putting your own private medium of communication into the public realm. And if just general litigation, people, now when litigation commences, what they'll do is they'll ask for metadata, they'll look for everything, because we now communicate electronically. We don't communicate via paper and stamps anymore, and fax machines.
Well, we look forward to hearing
Very
more
true.
about this, Matt, next meeting. Thank you.
Yep.
I think that
My
would be very
pleasure.
helpful. So in terms of social media, Jeff, I will say one thing. We all do it differently. Some people are on it, not on it. I choose not to look at it and to do the way that you guys do, and I think that it's great that you want to be the voice of the people. I will tell you this, I promise you, I was in no way reprimanding you, because the one thing that I keep at the top of my mind, that I don't think a lot of people out there that do bash us at times, we're 9 people that are here volunteering our time. And we all know from the time that we spend on committees to these meetings, that even the ones you think on your birthday are going to be a half an hour, you know, honestly, we're volunteers, Jeff. And we may do things differently, we may think differently, vote differently at times, but the reality is, I have no doubt that the 9 people sitting up at this board are doing what they think is in the best interest of this district. And that's all that I think the public can ask of us and that we can ask of each other. So give each other a little respect. And speaking of committees, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to say it, but I'll be doing those over the weekend. So if anyone has any issues, please reach out to me, because since my birthday party is going to come to a close soon, we will have to start running the district at the next meeting and have our committees and stuff. So.
Speaking of committees, Laura, how do you want to work that?
That's what I did. Oh,
I didn't hear it.
oh, I was speaking to them here. No, I was saying, so I'm going to work on them this weekend. If anyone has any issues or comments or things about committees you want me to know, please text me, call me, email me.
Otherwise, you'll just give us our assignments like Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah, I'll get the assignments
Okay.
to everybody, because I know
Thank
Brian's probably
you.
to want them by Monday or Tuesday, the latest, correct?
Yep, I'm particularly interested in the finance committee. I've already got finance
Okay.
committee meetings on the calendar
Yep.
ready to send out.
Yeah, no, I know that, we got to get all the meetings set out, so.
Yeah, so Monday.
So by Monday, if that works for you.
Thank you.
Because more importantly than my birthday, it's my daughter's birthday this weekend.
Well, then let's get out of here,
Another
man.
driver.
Nora wants to go home too. She just wants to go
Do
home.
we have
Poor
a,
Nora.
do we have
We
anything
do
for
not
closed
have any for
session?
closed session, I was told.
No? Oh, what a shame. I mean, it's really,
I know, the party, I'm too old for this kind of partying, Vicki, come on.
move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mrs. Becker, who would like to second it. Mr. Carangelo.
Mark too, I know.
Any discussion on going home, or? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that's a wrap.